do about it. That's weird.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Strange, but okay. Why would the video just cut if you're
Sure.
I,
I don't.
this is where I go like, well, if you're listening on the podcast, but we're not. Um, oh ho ho, we're back.
We back.
We're back. Hey everybody, welcome back.
Maybe.
Hey, I think we're back. We are back. We're back. We're back. So yeah. So obviously, lot lot going on. Lot going on.
What the shit?
Um, with all that.
Let me try it on my phone. This, you know what comes up when I click on that is Bernie Sanders talking.
Hey guys, welcome back, buddy. We're
How do
we're
you have that?
because I got I'm squared away.
Okay, well, when I click on the thing, it says pop culture or WTF Nation Radio is live now.
Yeah.
I click on it.
What's
Boop,
up,
and it goes
everybody?
to,
We're back up. Yeah, we're just talking a couple different things. I do change of let me switch this back out of here. Change of pace. We got a few minutes here before we go to break and get our guest up and running. I want to play a little game with you, Radar.
there it goes. Yes, go ahead.
So if I asked you, and audience, by all means, please participate. What is the most expensive TV shows ever made per episode? The cost per episode. What is the most expensive TV shows ever made? Audience, please type in your answers now. And what say you, Mr. Radar?
Walking Dead.
You think The Walking Dead is
It's
possibly
up there. I think it's
one
one
of
of
the
the
most
top ones.
expensive?
Probably top 10.
Top
I'll
10.
put a top
Okay.
10.
Top 10.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, Richard Bailey put one. Is it just is it just like network shows or like
Any show,
HBO shows?
any
Any
TV
show.
show ever made, the most expensive per episode. So
Game
you
of
can't think
Thrones
of
has
a
got to
show
be up
that's
there.
like, well, one episode was probably super expensive, but the rest of them were cheap. Like per episode on average, most expensive TV shows could be mini series, could be anything, all time. I'll give you guys hints in that none of them, which makes sense, none of them are older than like 10 years. Right?
Yeah,
Because it makes sense, right? Because you say Quantum Leap, I see Quantum Leap out there, but like that was made when things were free. I don't
basically, yeah. Like they're
know.
act.
um,
But I mean, because we look at even like late night TV show hosts are making fucking money hand over fist.
I agree with Spank. I agree with Spanky. I would have said Friends. I would have said Friends, knowing these guys are making like $1 million per episode.
Yep.
But then, okay, so you get the main cast makes $1 million, so that's only about 6 million. But then they made like all the sets are cheap and all the things are shot on studio, live audience, whatever. So not actually that expensive when compared to some other shows. So I'm gonna give you top six.
Okay, top
Top
six.
six. Number 6,
Archer.
Archer. Really? The
Oh, okay, keep going. Go ahead.
James nailed it. Number 6 is The Mandalorian
Yep.
at $15 million per episode.
Yep.
Mandalorian. At number 5, I saw it a couple times. Not Game of Thongs, Heath. That's a whole different. It's a whole different show. Game of Thrones, specifically, the last season was $15 million an episode.
Yes.
So the cast was costing a bunch, and then all the special effects and things like that. So
It was Archer. Yeah.
number 5, Game of Thrones, last season. Number 4, and I don't think I saw anybody mention this one.
WandaVision.
I was a little surprised. The Pacific. Yep, The Pacific. $20 million per episode.
Weird.
20 million. That's what I thought the same thing. I was like, that can't. Well, I guess so. Keeping up with the Kardashians. That's funny. No, that's how much they spend. That's not how much they cost. Number 3. Can you be more Pacific? That's funny. You guys are punny. Let's see who else. I think Spanky, I think you nailed this one. Ooh, I saw it and I can't find it now. Damn it. Somebody mentioned it and I can't find it. Anyway, so number 3 are collectively the Marvel Disney Plus shows. Oh, I think you said it. You said WandaVision.
Yeah, I said WandaVision. I'm wearing the shirt.
So they're about $25 million per episode on average for all the shows.
Yeah. Okay.
So number 3. Number 2, not surprising when you really think about it. Number 2 is Stranger Things season 4, was $30 million per episode. Stranger Things, Netflix's biggest series. Like when you think about it, you know,
Netflix finna be broke.
I've said this comment many
Many
times.
Not from what you said though. They're doing it to themselves now.
There's a story that
you
came
were
out.
like, I'm not paying that much for Netflix. Bye, I'll see you. They're like,
did you see the story that came out where they lost like 200,000 subscribers over the course of like a weekend?
A day?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I'm not paying extra for this crap. I got everything else. Bye, I'll see you.
And now they're saying they're slashing all their budgets with like anything regarding animation and a bunch of things. They're slashing
Netflix
budgets.
is gonna be broke. They're gonna be mailing us DVDs in the mail again.
We're going back old school.
Yo.
Number 1 is a show that hasn't premiered yet.
Huh?
So remember, the number 2 we just said $30 million an episode, right?
Yep.
Number 1 is Amazon's Rings of Power. The prequel to the Lord of the Rings series is estimated $57 million per episode. Amazon is spending $57 million per episode to
Is that why my Prime went up?
That is exactly why your Prime subscription went up.
The Rings of Excellence.
Dude, I saw that and I went, that can't be. That just doesn't make sense. 57 million. It makes no sense whatsoever.
None.
But hey, that's funny. Joe says 57 million per episode. They could have bought the rings around Uranus for that much. I didn't know Uranus had rings. I thought that was Jupiter, but you know, who am I? What am I, an astronaut? I don't know these things.
Right. Well, if you got rings around Uranus, white better. Just saying.
This didn't cost you 57 million to white better. Yeah. So
Bezos don't want your penis.
So that I had to share that. I saw this report and I was just like, I mean, Disney's spending a lot, right? They're 25 million an episode to bring out these, like they're spending a lot of money, but I think they're doing it right. But $57 million per ep, like that's not, you can't. Yeah, I mean, you can't. Wait, I don't know how you sustain that. I don't think you can.
No, you can't.
Yeah,
I mean, you can.
Keep
you
jacking up the
can.
Prime prices.
Got the money. They've got the money. Amazon got that money.
I mean,
you bullshitting me. They got drones and shit. The only people with more drones than them is Ukraine.
Nice.
Nice. I'm just saying, like, you can't. They've got their own fleets now of like ships, and they got like the world's 3rd largest navy. Amazon does. You know what I mean? Like, they got everything. The only thing they ain't got is Twitter. It's because Mustbot.
Like you put 50 cals on all their trucks, and they're like they got the biggest military force in the world.
Yeah, 3rd biggest military. Turns out the Amazon Prime van's got more armor than a Russian tank does.
Nice. All right. with that, guys, we've come to the top of the hour. We're going to take a short break. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to have a guest when we come back. And we're not going to get zucked for any random old reason. I blame you, Radar, because you wanted me to play the trailer. So
I blame me too.
I blame you. But all right, guys, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back with more right after this. Shots.
You're listening to the sounds of WTF Nation Radio.
Hey, you there? Yeah, it is right, you. Let me ask you something, right? Where the hell do you think that you're going? Oh, would you think because the show is going to commercial that means you get to just walk away? Well, CQ asked me to pass on the little message, alright? And it says, I'll be back.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, you have no idea how excited I am. I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. My guest tonight is an incredible television and film actor who is also a published author, and a true California native. He started his acting career doing theater in Chicago, which is where he crossed paths with a very famous Chicagoan, Vince Vaughn, who recommended he move out to LA to pursue film and television. And in 2010, that's exactly what he did. After appearing in a number of shows and movies, it was in 2014 that he got his big break when he landed the role of rookie EMT Brian on the USA Network series Siren. You can currently catch him as Luke Crossley on both seasons of the Amazon original show Upload. Everyone, oh man, I'm so excited. Please give a warm welcome to our guest tonight, the amazing Kevin Bigley, everybody.
Hey, what's going on?
Woo, woo.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Yes. All right, guys, settle down.
Yeah, everyone, get back in your seats. Come on, we just got started here.
Oh man, thank you, Kevin, for coming on, man. You are a rock star. I really appreciate you taking the time, man.
Yeah, that's my dog. So heads up. That's her. This is the time she gets pumped about, hey, get in your bed. In your bed.
Hey, man.
In your bed. No, she's not listening. Okay, so that's going to be an issue. But that's what's going to be happening. This is like the time of night or day in which I play with her, and
it's totally fine.
She's annoyed.
It's totally fine, man. It's stars. They're just like us. They're just like real people. They're just like you and me, or not you, but me.
Sure.
So obviously we have tons of people watching live already. Richard in the chat says, Kevin, I'm a big fan. Hello.
I love it.
So we got lots of people watching live. If you guys have questions, please throw them in the chats and we'll get to them, I promise. For now, like I do with every guest, first question out the gate, what is your military connection?
Military connection. First, I had an uncle that served in the Army. And it kind of goes, I think, pretty deep as far as like some of my friends. Like growing up, a lot of my friends joined the military. I had one buddy who kind of inspired some recent work that I did with Wounded Warrior Project, who was a great dude. I won't name him, but he served artillery, and he served in Afghanistan 2 tours, and yeah, I just kind of saw his experience coming home both times, and it was a unique experience. A lot of discussions with him about that, and he had some PTSD, and it was an interesting experience. I saw his battle with that, and yeah, I was talking to him about potentially getting involved. I had done some charitable work for Wounded Warrior Project, raising money and whatnot, and back in 2015. Because a lot of vets came up to me after I was doing Sirens. They were coming up because I think a lot of vets end up becoming EMS workers, because it's very valiant and all that, and putting themselves in the line of fire, sometimes literally. So, yeah, it was just really interesting, just very interesting, kind of getting to know that charity, and it got more immersive as I started doing more charitable work with them this past. I don't know what they call them, publicity campaigns for upload. So in doing that, got to raise some money, got to raise some awareness. You were nice enough to lend your time to me to do an IG live interview, which was very nice to do. And a lot of people, it was really cool to talk to a lot of different vets and just really get to know what that charity does, which is a whole bunch of things that I was very ignorant to. And I think most of the average, civilian kind of is,
Yeah, that's incredible. And if I can, I was your first. So
hey, you were
mean,
the first one they recommended. It's so funny because I was talking to them, and I had reached out, and they were like, "Awesome, this sounds cool," and they were really they came up with some ideas and stuff, and I had asked them, I was like, "Do you know anybody, like who do you want, who do you recommend?" And they were like, some vets can be one word answers, men and women, yes, no, this, that. And they're like, we got one guy, I think. And it was like I was on a Zoom with like 6 people. And they were like, there's one. And then someone was like, are you thinking of Michael? And it was like, yes, yep. And yeah, you didn't let me down, man.
Fair enough.
It was a great conversation.
I love that. In some back room, they're like, who never shuts up? We got the perfect CQ, man. That guy, he just talks and talk. But I gotta say, for those that didn't see it, which shame on you, you should go back and see it. You were an excellent interviewer. I mean, kudos.
My goodness. Yeah, I'm taking your job, man. I'm after it.
There you go.
No, it was all genuine. It was really cool just to kind of sit there, talk with you, and talk with all these vets. I mean, they were all genuine questions, and it's, I think, mostly, oh God, it's gonna sound so like talk showy, but it was really more about listening, Michael. No, it was just like it was so informative in these stories. It's like it's hard not to just forget that you're really doing an interview and just ask sincere questions. When you talked about rappelling from the helicopter and stuff, it was just like, oh my good. I mean, these are just like insane stories. So I thought it was just incredible.
That's awesome, man. Like I said, I do appreciate you, using your platform to spread awareness, to get people's stories out there, to help incredible organizations. That's incredible for you. Big kudos to you for doing that. And
Thanks,
then to come on our little show here.
Oh yeah,
and to do this little thing. I mean,
I didn't know. I was like, what level of show are we talking about? Because then they were like, well, he does podcasts and video whole thing, and I was like, awesome. And I was like, what does he do? And they were like, oh, he interviews people from from show business. And I was like, but then they were like, well, they didn't really. One of the guys said like people who work on sets, and I was like, oh, this is like he does like probably I'm gonna get without listening. Probably like talking to sound people or whatever. All right,
sure.
And a little thing in my pocket. I was like, that might be kind of a big get then. And then shit, I look and Robbie and Mel's done it, and I was like, oh, look at it. I mean, I'm little fish now. It's like I'm middle of the pack compared to someone like Robbie. I sent Robbie a text immediately. I was like, have you done that? Like have you talked to the guy? Because it was my first Wounded Warrior Project interview, so I was nervous about it. So he was like, oh yeah, great guy, great conversation, all that stuff. So he enjoyed his time. So yeah, there's another badge. There's another badge of honor for you.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up. This has been great. You
can't top it.
This is all about me for the first 10 minutes. Thank you. No, we are here to talk about you, sir, and your incredible career so far, because we know you got so much left to go.
A lot.
first, because again, we're a pop culture show too, I'm
Yeah.
curious before we dive into all of it, where is your nerddom, right? What are you a nerd for?
Oh, wow. Where's my nerddom? I would say that my nerddom really lies in my dad used to tease me, which is a whole nother thing. But he used to call me stats because I was obsessed with statistics for sports, specifically baseball, which there's an endless amount. So I'm fairly nerdy about baseball. I really like the statistical stuff, the analytical stuff. I'm a big Dodger fan, and they're very analytics heavy. So there's all of these, and they're always changing year by year, which I find to be very interesting. I'm a closeted comic book nerd, it's like obviously, because pretentiously I've hung my guitars. I play guitar, but I feel like anytime you say like I'm good at guitar, like I've been playing for a long time,
Right.
and then you meet someone who's really good at guitar, like my musician friends, and you're like, oh, everything's relative. So I like I can say like, oh yeah, I'm kind of a comic book nerd, but then I meet somebody like my buddy Andrew. He's like, it's just like every multiverse and aspect of like issues and things. And he's got like, I have records. That's another relative thing. I collect records. I have 300. And then you meet someone who's like, I have a room and it's 5,000. And so it's all relative.
Yeah,
But yeah,
no judging. No judging here. Like, you say you're a comic book nerd. We're not going to quiz you. We're not going to like start asking you questions. What year was the first appearance?
Right. I would not know. I'm not there. But what I am is like, I've had a tough day. I love the Marvel movies. Like, I love them. I think they're fantastic. And, there's so many pretentious actors, I feel, who like it's not, do the Scorsese thing of it's not cinema. But like, for the most part, I mean, we watch like my wife and I watch like a movie a night, but there's just so many times in which we're like, let's just do a Marvel one. Like, yeah. I know I've seen it 100 times, but like, let's just watch it. It's just like getting on a roller coaster you've ridden before.
Let me ask you, what's your go-to? What's your favorite one? Just to sit back, enjoy, no, nothing. Just relax and enjoy it. What's your favorite?
Man, I don't know. I feel like it's definitely it's a cop out, but it's the Avengers. The first Avengers is just like so fun.
Iconic.
Just because, oh yeah, well I remember when it came out, it was like they cracked it. It was like, oh, what? It just puts everything in perspective too. Of like how hard that is to do, because growing up, comic book movies were not a given. Like, they mostly sucked. They were not very good. I remember when Blade came out, it was like, it's good. Yeah. Like, it's actually good. It's like not that campy at all. Like, there was the Tim Burton Batman stuff, but there was nothing that was like that high quality and great. So that's when it was like, oh, these can be really good. And then specifically you get Iron Man. I'm just retreading history that everybody knows. And then you get Iron Man 2, and then you get, but like Avengers, I think, and he's been, rightfully canceled for several reasons, but like Joss Whedon, I really cracked those characters, specifically Captain America. And like, also what Marvel did, I feel like, is that they started to find the genre of film that matched the hero, by having Favreau direct, the Iron Man movie. It was kind of a Vince Vaughn-ish kind of character. It's perfect. Like, it's terrific. It works great. And then when Whedon figures out that this Captain America is kind of a dated you have these war movies, but then it becomes like, he knew how to make him kind of badass. And then you have the Winter Soldier. See, I'm a little bit of a nerd. The Winter Soldier comes out, and it's like almost like a Bourne movie. Like, there's a lot of handheld. So once you find that genre that matches, Deadpool's a comedy, you find these elements of genre that match the hero. That's when I think you crack the hero and crack the franchise. And that's just my 2 cents on it,
Oh, you're so sexy to me right now. I just want you to know that. You're just so sexy. You can talk comic book movies to me all day long. All right, we're gonna get into the actual interview now. So as I mentioned in your intro, I found it particularly interesting. You're born in California, but you decided to study at the DePaul University in Chicago.
Yeah.
What was the reason for leaving California to go there and study that?
I ran away from home. No, I wanted to get as far away from my parents as possible because my dad was teasing me. No, that's also a lie. But I just wanted to go to Chicago. I wanted to go someplace different. I had lived in like Northern California, like in Central Valley until I was about 12 years old. My dad was a construction worker. He became a prison guard at Pelican Bay State Pen, which is like where Manson was. It was like, the highest of maximum security prison. So we moved up there, which was right over the border in Oregon, was where we lived, in this little town called Brookings. He became a parole agent. We moved down to San Francisco. I just wanted a different experience, and I knew a lot of kids who came back from Chicago who were from my high school that were actors, and they were like, "This program is legit, is like really good." I also read something of like John C. Reilly, who had gone to school there, with this philosophy of acting for, of just being a good actor. He's like, if you want to be a good actor, go to Chicago. So I just wanted to go there. There was a good theater scene. It just made kind of sense. I also wanted to pick a city that I could come out of as far as the university and go to work there, because you're going to build relationships and form contacts that are in that city. And so many people would go to the surrounding towns with really good programs, like Minnesota. They'd go to Minneapolis. They have the Guthrie, and it's a beautiful, beautiful school, great program. But the problem with that for me was that I don't really want to get out of school and then work in Minneapolis.
Right.
Nothing against Minneapolis, and the theater scene's great. But I also wanted to do film television. I just didn't want to pigeonhole myself in one city. So Chicago felt like perfect. Also felt like me as a person too. I was a blue collar kid. Like I said, my dad was a construction worker and a prison guard. Doesn't get too, much more blue collar than that. But, and I worked a little bit of construction myself as a kid. So we went to San Francisco, and I didn't like it as a city. It was just condensed. I came from open pastures and rice fields, and here I am in the opposite, congested European-esque city. And I was surrounded by rich kids. So I was like, I don't love this. And then and it was impossible to live in that city if you weren't making money. And I went to Chicago, and upon landing, it's like, oh, regular people live in the city. Like, it's a blue collar city. It's an old fashioned city in how it's built, there was space, like it felt authentic. It felt like a little bit like I could connect to it. It felt like I belonged there. So yeah, I really loved going to school there.
Yeah, you can hear the passion you have for
You
Chicago.
really can. Well, that's me acting. But also, yes, it's there.
I am an incredible actor and humble too.
Very humble. That's what I'm known for, quite honestly.
Yes. So you did a ton of theater. I'm not going to run through the list. You did a ton of theater while you were there in Chicago. I'm curious, when you made the move to LA and you started, pursuing the acting stuff and the TV and film, what did you take away from your time in theater and from your experience in theater in Chicago and apply to your acting craft in LA?
It was really hard at first, just because I didn't understand that the film and television world, like, of how to operate it. Because in theater, if you mess up a line, like, you just got to keep going. So my first job, I'm like on set, and like, I remember I did a CSI Miami guest star, and I'm like standing across from like David Caruso, who's just like got a Diet Coke, and he's not taking his shades off. And I'm like across from him. It's like, again, I'm on theater. Like, I'm from theater. So it's like, it's a different vibe. I'm being interviewed, it's one of those things where it's like, you got the wrong guy, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like across from him, and they go to his coverage first. And it's like, I can't fucking hear this guy. It's like, it's whispering. He's like, it was just like, he's mumbling. He's not looking at me. It's like, what's happening? This would not fly on the stage. at all. Like I was just so confused. And then he would just mess up a line and just like disconnect from me completely, as if he ever was. And he would just be like, "What is it? What's the line? What is it?" And they'd be like, it's we know it's you." And he'd be like, "Yeah, we know it's you." You know, he was just like he was handing off the line as it was handed to him, like just passing it. But then he cuts together and it's a super popular show and the scene works, whatever. It was just like, I have no idea how to do this. However, I did know from like my background, one of the things that worked in theater, especially with Shakespeare, was approaching it from a work ethic standpoint. I knew people who could look at something, memorize it right away, bang, they're going up on stage. I knew a lot of naturally talented people. I think I had some talent, but what I definitely had was work ethic. And I was like, I just have to outwork like everybody. Not that I'm in competition with everybody, but that I just need to, that's how I'm going to stay, on par with everybody. I just need to like make sure I know my lines the best, and I need to do a bunch of script work. And so I just kept trying to find where the work was, and then kind of dive into that. And that kind of helped me with film and television, because I like showing up, especially with comedy. I like always come with alt lines, like other jokes that I've written that I can use at the end of scenes and stuff like that, and just pitches on things. And that's stuff that comes from looking at the script and working. It just comes from working.
Nice. I remember reading somewhere where they said like, oh, when you do theater, it's like you're playing to the guy in the back of the room, and then like in film and television, you're playing to the camera. You're playing to just
and in a lot of ways, vocally, you're playing the mic, and the mic's just right here. Sometimes it's attached to. So that changed everything for me when I realized, because it's such a mystery, film and television, when you first start it, and you feel like you want to do it. You've seen it a million times. It's like magic to a degree, and that it's just you're like, how do I do it? And once you figure out the little tricks, and the sleight of hand, and then you're like, oh, okay. And that was one of the ones that did it to me, was just like the first thing I learned was like just play to the mic. And then also like there's all these little theories of of like playing to the camera, but like also just knowing where it is and how it's looking at you. It's like if you're like a kid on a playground and you're talking to your buddies, and that there's a girl that you have a crush on looking at you. It's kind of like the same thing of like, maybe you laugh a little bit harder, or it's like giving her your good side. It's the same thing. You're just trying to, maybe you're not trying to look cute this whole time, but at least you're just trying to play. You're playing to it. So yeah.
You're flirting with the camera. That's what I'm hearing.
Flirting with the camera. That's the name of my book. That's the name of my acting book. Flirting with the
awesome.
camera.
I've never heard it described that way, but it is so. It makes sense. I get it. I totally.
They know. They are like, the good people really know, or they don't care how they look on camera. Like that. Like there's the famous. I don't know. It's either, you mix them up so many times, Pacino and De Niro, but like there's a famous Pacino / De Niro story in which, after a take or whatever, they're like, oh, it's amazing, we're gonna watch it, we'll queue up playback, we'll watch it, Al or / Bob, do you want to watch the playback? And one of them went, I don't need to, I already know what it looks like. So a lot of people, I feel like, know. For me, it's that it's not that I don't care, because that sounds too cool. It's more that if I see it, I will immediately, upon seeing it, think there's never been someone so unfunny.
You get in your own head about it.
I get my own head. It's like, I mean, it's like if you, if you're a golfer or something, and you just played a killer round, and somebody managed to like videotape you, and then you look back and you're like, God, the swing is horrible. But the result is the result. So just let everybody else make the decision, I mean, for the show, that like for Upload, Greg Daniels is like an idol comedically of mine. And it's like, and personally, but no, he's like just one of these guys that I look up to. And it's like, if someone says something shitty on Twitter, or if a review calls me out and they don't like me, I can't control any of that, and also maybe, I don't need to put stock in it, and because I have one of these, your audience, as far as know who you actually want to draw your opinions from. in business and in life anyway. I don't really shouldn't care too much of like, what a stranger thinks about you. I should really care about if my wife respects me. So that's how I feel about that. I don't know how I got and arrived at this point, what your question was, and how
No,
I
it's
got there.
great.
But that's where we ended up,
That's
man.
good stuff, man. We'll watch the playback and we'll get in your head about it. Last question. So while you're in Chicago, you meet up with Vince Vaughn, right? Because you're shooting a pilot for Fox called Firsts. It doesn't get picked up, but it's through that experience that you get hired to do The Dilemma, which was also shooting in Chicago. What did that what did you learn from that experience, and what did it mean to you to know that, like, all right, well, this didn't work, but I did so good that like they wanted me on this thing?
Yeah, I mean, it was just the first of many what will be a career built on failure. That you have to kind of gauge success for something different than what you thought it was going to be. I mean, that was at the height of Vince Vaughn's powers, really, where it was like everyone's saying that this is going to be a big show. You're going to go to LA and be some big rock star and make a ton of money and buy your house now, which is like I've heard a million times now in my career, having been in this professionally for 12 years. I mean, like it's such bullshit, but like the real victory was I got an agent out of that. I got a manager out of that. I got to work with someone comedically who I just completely idolize as well, like somebody who I looked up to, Vince. It's just incredible. Got to know him a little bit during that time, and then you do get such a good job. I mean, like I got a call when I was there after it was like we'd shot the pilot, and it was like, who knows what's going to happen. I got a call from my agent, and they're like, yeah, you have a producer session with for The Dilemma, this Untitled Ron Howard movie, and it didn't have a name yet. And I was like, okay, great. And they're like, yeah, we're sending you the audition slides. There are a lot of them. And I looked and I was like, holy shit, there were 8. You get one scene. You go in for this person, you go in for that person, you go in for a character. I was going in for 8 different people. And so I did, like I'm talking about, I just fucking memorized everything. And I go in there and it's for Ron Howard. And it's me and Ron Howard. And I'm, 22 years old, and it's like, how am I going to do 23? Like, how am I going to do this? Like, I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. And really what it was Vince was like, hire this kid, find a role for him. So I just went down every single thing, like every scene. And then he hired me as like this dude in the bank that has a really cool scene with Vince. But yeah, that was incredible. And then on that, Vince was kind of like, we were waiting to hear on that pilot. And I was like, he was like, what are you doing? What's your deal? Are you staying here? Are you going there? What are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. We're thinking, me and my girlfriend, my wife, we're thinking about moving out there. And he was like, you have to do it. You should do it. He's like, you'll do well out there. I was like, really? And he was like, I'll give you 2 pieces of advice. Give it 2 years, just to it's going to take 2 years for you to figure that out, just to figure out your footing there. And second piece of advice is you're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate LA. It's nothing like Chicago. Don't compare it. It's not a city, it's a sprawl, it's a series of weird suburbs. So don't expect anything like Chicago. People aren't the same. It's not the same thing. You're going to hate it, but just pull through. And literally we went out, and then 2 years later I booked a pilot for Greg Daniels that never saw the light of day. But
that's okay.
Yeah, he was right. And he was also right. I did not like it. I did not like LA. I still don't love it. I don't hate it like I did those first 2 years, but it was just humbling because you just did a movie with Ron Howard, and Vince Vaughn was directing me on set, and then 3 months later you move. You have only, I think we had $500 in our bank account, and I'm catering. It was just you had to eat a big old slice of humble pie, and you have to start from the bottom. It's like being in Chicago. I feel like it was kind of like being in line for a concert that the line's around the block and you're like, oh, I think there's at the corner right there, I think that's the door, and that's moving to LA. And then you move to LA and the line turns the corner and you go, oh, holy shit, we're not even anywhere close. Like we are so far away. So yeah, it was definitely, eye-opening.
That's awesome. That's it. And I mean, for you to get, an attaboy, a pat on the back by Vince Vaughn and be like, yeah, you should do it. Like, it's one thing when it's like, Mom, I love you and I support you. You could be a great actor versus like, okay, this is a guy that's doing it. This is a guy that knows what he's talking about. And for him to be like, yeah, you should do this. Like, that's got to give you some sort of like boost of, oh, wow, maybe I really can do it.
Oh, hell yeah. Like, it definitely got me going. And definitely there were some really tough days. And still are, like where you're going to have a tough day. Like anybody has a tough day and things aren't working out. And you're just like, do I call it, like, or is this it, or is it all, downhill or whatever. So, but like, you do have to try so hard to rest on those, just like I'm talking about, like the opinions that you actually put stock in, where you put your value, to get you through that. You have to have it for yourself, just in general, just any kind of self-worth. You don't need famous people like Vince Vaughn to tell you, that's the only reason. If you don't have that, then you might as well quit. But having some people who have hired me and worked with me and believed in me and told me that I can do it, everybody needs some kind of encouragement in that way. So that was really, really helpful for sure.
That's awesome. So you moved to LA 2010. I mean, like you said, you're working jobs, but you're also booking stuff. And like I saw the list, Matadors, Detroit 187, Chicago Code, CSI Miami, Bones, Melissa and Joey, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like, you're going through it. So as I'm reading this, I had this question in my head where, like, where's your head at during this time, right? Because you made the big move. You said you only had $500 to your name, and Vince Vaughn gave you the attaboy. And like, what kept you going? What kept you from giving up?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, I think I think the big one was that, I just knew that I wasn't going to do anything else. I didn't have a backup plan. Neither did my wife. We were just kind of like, I don't think I'm sure I can do something. I'm sure I could do this or that or fall into that job, but I'm pretty positive that I will not only not like said job, but I will probably be really bad at it. Just because, and I know me, that I would start off okay, but my heart's not going to be in it, and I'll just bounce around. Like at the end of the day, a phrase I hate to say, but literally at the end of every day, it's like, am I going to, whenever I would have those conversations with myself or with my wife about like, should I quit or is this over? Should I do something else? It's like, no, I really don't. What else would you do? Like, I mean, it's what I loved doing. I was working valet in 2011. So I worked valet in 2011 and 2013. And it's just, it just sucks because you're LA, it's like people who kind of, they treat valets like shit because it kind of helps them feel like it elevates their status. And, you're getting terrible tips. Maybe you have a bad audition or your pilot doesn't get picked up. And then you just have to go park somebody's car. And you're working an event with like I would, that was like some kind of little award show or something. And you're like, I feel 100 miles away from the person's car that I'm parking. I'd done this movie Game Change for HBO that it was the Sarah Palin movie. Julianne Moore played Sarah Palin, and I played her son. And I was just like having existential crisis. Should I quit? All this stuff, all this self-doubt. And she won an award. And a bunch of people texted me and they're like, did you see this shit? And they sent me a clip. And Julianne Moore had like gotten on stage. If I ever see her again, I'm going to thank her for this. But like, I was like huddled in someone else's car, which I'd parked, and we were slammed. And like, I finally got to watch this video in someone else's Beamer. And it was like, Julianne Moore won a SAG award. She got up on stage and she said, I'm nothing without all these people attached, and she just read all of her co-stars, and I was on that list. So it was like, here I am in this parking lot in this fancy car that doesn't belong to me. Julianne Moore is across town at the SAG Awards, winning an award for a movie that I was in, and she said my name on stage. So although I'm not in that room, my name was said there. And it just, I don't know what that means specifically, but at least it just meant that I'm tangentially involved in this thing, and that something's happening. Something is happening, and something can happen. You're just fucking playing the slots every damn day, and you just have to keep, you're down, you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down, you're up, and you just have to kind of keep doing it until it hits, and it will, but then that'll go away, and then you'll be right back where you are, and then you have to, the highs are high, lows are lows, that whole thing, but you're never too low to rise again, not only as an actor in this industry, but as just a human being. So you just kind of have to have some mental fortitude and know that, if good things can happen out of nowhere, so can bad things. And, like Upload will get canceled someday. That will happen. That's the way things work. Unless you're The Simpsons and Saturday Night Live, your show's going to get canceled at some point. So like, you're going to be looking for work. You will be unemployed. So just enjoy it when you have it.
Yeah. And be smart about
And
it.
be
right?
smart. Don't be stupid, run through your money or anything like that.
Yeah.
And don't get entitled. Don't think that I've just been around some actors too on shows where they just think that they're already looking forward. They're looking at the next step. They're thinking about this as a launching pad, and you don't understand that that's just such a juvenile, immature way of thinking, where you're like, no, this is it. This is what you could get something else. Something good could come from that. You have very little say on any of that. This is the peak, this whole thing, much of life too, just is, Sisyphean, right?
Yeah.
Is it Sisyphean or Sisyphean? But Sisyphean, I think. But like, you're pushing that fucking boulder up there, and it sucks. Your show gets canceled, it rolls on top of you, and you start back on the bottom. So just enjoy it when the pushing isn't so hard, and you're up top.
Yeah. Yeah. No, in the military, we always said, today, right now, is all that's ever guaranteed.
Right.
That's it. There could be a bullet with your name on it right around that corner, and it's something I still live by today. But it's like, you like you said, you don't know. I mean, who could have predicted COVID shutting down everything for forever?
Right.
So all that, I mean,
it's just temperance. It's temperance, and which brings in. Let's get deep here. It brings in mindfulness. That's all it is. It's just being aware that, hopefully you're not fixating on death, but like the idea of like a healthy relationship with the idea that things will not be around forever, because you're not going to be around forever. And there's something good about that, because that means that not only are good times temporary, but that means that bad times are temporary. Every living person, every famous person that you've ever idolized, dies. And, like, what happens to these people who have achieved these great things? What they go away. So do their worries and concerns, because you will die. So it's like, really, I mean, just because he's on the top of my head, I guess, John Lennon, it's like, oh, this great person. And I'm sure he was like, had a bad day one time and was super stressed about this or that, or completing this album or the new thing. But then sadly, he passes away, and he is gone. And so are his worries, so it's like, everything's temporary, man. That's just my 2 cents.
I love it, man. It's such a good thing. All right. So in 2014, you get kind of the big one. You get the lead role in Sirens, right?
Yeah.
Tell me, what's that moment like when you get the call, you got the thing, you're going to be on the show, and I mean, it's a big moment. So what was that like?
When I got that pilot, I had done one for NBC that was like the dream one, which was with Greg, and didn't go. Tony Shalhoub was in it, Allison Janney. That was a big lesson of like, oh, nothing is guaranteed. So moving forward from that, pretty quickly, I ended up getting a pilot for Sirens, and that was a really fun thing. And I felt really free to go and kind of be this weird, funny character. And I got along great with Dennis Leary and Bob Fisher, who Bob Fisher actually wrote Wedding Crashers. So there's your Vince Vaughn connection. But like, they were just so helpful and like helping me find that character and doing that. So when it came down to it getting picked up, I was working valet. The funny thing was that it's just the way life works, I think, is that I was so stressed out because of what that show would mean, which would mean that I could quit my day job, that when I did find out, because they're leading up to that, it's like, maybe not. Oh, maybe not. You're hearing all these little things. And then we started to get tricklings of information of like, I think it's going to go. And we got a phone call that it was happening. And I felt, I was amazed. I was like, oh my God, my wife and I are going to pop champagne and this is going to be fantastic. And we did. And I just had this subtle headache that was just building and building and building. The next day, I was in incredible pain and I realized I had shingles. So it was like, I went to the doctor. I had just incredible. I mean, this is what 60-year-olds get, and 70-year-olds like get shingles, people in, living facilities like that, like the elderly get shingles. So I went to the doctor and they're like, yeah, you have shingles. I don't know what kind of happened here. And I was like, yeah, what? And they're like, it's very freak that this happened. They're like, unless you were, the only thing I can think of is if you were under an incredible amount of stress and had quick relief from it. And I was like, well, yeah, well, then there it is. That's exactly what happened. So I had shingles. That was a big one. And then secondly, I went to my valet job and I was like, hey guys, my pilot got picked up. I'm going to quit. And they were like, now, today? And I was like, oh, no, actually, because it doesn't start shooting for like 4 months. And they're like, so you're working here? I was like, right, but then I'm going to quit. And they're like, and what are you going to go do? And I was like, we'll shoot a show. My pilot got picked up. And they're like, I thought it didn't get picked up. And they were talking about the Greg Daniels one. So they were like very skeptical. And I was like, no, I'm serious. It got picked up. I swear to God. So it was just uneventful. Like when it happened, the moment was like very realistic. I got shingles. I couldn't quit my job. I kept parking cars for like 4 months. And then finally I like turned in my uniform and I left and I'm over in Chicago shooting them on set. And I get like a bunch of missed calls from my former valet boss. And I listened to these messages and he's just like, where are you? You're scheduled. We're slammed. Like they really did not get what was happening. And then I had finally gotten like a job. Like they just didn't understand, in their minds. And I think specifically my manager, no one makes it out. So that was the big, that was the big moment for me, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure they were thinking that. They're like, yeah, you got the show. Sure you did.
We'll
see you Monday.
You're an actor. Yeah, it was just like, yeah, right, buddy. Just go park that BMW.
So it's funny, we've talked a lot about the parking stuff because I know that on top of everything else you've done, you've also created a show. You were working valet at the Castaway in Burbank. And obviously, I'm assuming that inspired you to create the series Parked, which is for those that don't know, 6 10-minute episodes that premiered on Amazon Prime in 2018, where you acted, wrote, as well as composed various music for the series. What about that experience made you go like, I need to bring this to life?
We were kind of, during Sirens, like my wife and I, we just decided I just didn't want to be dependent. I knew, like I said, kind of embracing this idea of temperance, Sirens will go away. And I don't know how long it's going to go. Maybe it goes 1 season, ended up going 2, but I was like, I just don't want to put my career in the hands of execs or something, So I was like, I really want to make sure that I do something else, make sure that my wife and I can make stuff. So buddy that I went to high school with, and then we went to college in Chicago, just my writing partner, we started writing sketches and we got some on Funny or Die that did really well. And then they called us in and then they were like, anything you want to do, we're going on the homepage. And we ended up racking up over like 500K in views on sketches, which is tough. It's not bulldog puppies, like that's going to get multi-millions. So sketch is a little bit harder, but we ended up getting a lot of views, and they were really cool. But it was a really good breeding ground for formulation of jokes and figuring out how to write 3-act structure in like miniature, small film and short film and sketch. So then we grew that, which felt like a natural progression to Park. And I was just trying to figure out how to mine certain things and aspects. And I really wanted to write some music for it and just kind of explore, really kind of take a bigger swing. So, it was just like born from anxiety and love and trying to articulate the main characters, this guy who's turning 30 and he's an assistant manager and is about to get an opportunity to progress and to leap to manager, and he just doesn't know whether or not he wants to be that, if he takes that job, because I got offered that job several times as as a valet, just because I showed up on time and I was somewhat competent. So they're like, well, what if, like, do you want this job? And it was like, just like I said, like, what else, do I take that or do I keep acting? So yeah, it was just like, do I want this job to define me, and somebody who, has just kind of let life happen to them, blah, blah, blah. But it was just a really great experience just to film that with my friends and with my wife. And it really helped kind of reinvigorate our passion to just do stuff together. And, we recently did a short film that's been going to some festivals and stuff. And, it's looking good, knock on wood, for a feature for us to do, for her to direct. And, it's just like you find out what you're capable of through the trial by fire. And that was just a unique experience, but the first of the major experiences of us producing our own stuff.
Oh, that's so awesome. And on top of everything else, because it's like, you haven't done enough. You haven't done enough. I mean, you've also done like the voice acting stuff. Shows like BoJack Horseman, American Dad. You're in the Angry Birds movie. I mean, was it a situation of where it's like, well, I'll just take whatever job comes my way, or was it something like, oh, I want to explore this as an option?
I got some opportunities to go in for a casting director for the Charmin Bears. That was when they were trying to figure that out. So I was going in there just to be like, I don't know, talk about toilet paper and being a bear. And it was just like, wasn't really working, but the casting director liked me, Linda LaMontagne. She's fantastic. And she was just like, hey, I have something else and we're figuring it out, but Will Arnett's attached. And so I just read a bunch of voices. Specifically, I did a Quentin Tarantino impression, and she realized that I could kind of do all these different little impressions that were not great impressions, but they were energy wise, that were something there, so that worked for them. And so they cast me. So I just started going in. I went in to do it was Quentin Tarantulino, which was like a tarantula. And I was like driving out of that, and then I got a call on my way back home, and they were like, they want you to go back in and do 6 more voices. And I was like, oh, amazing. Like, it was just really cool. I was just basically on call anytime they were doing a season. I knew I would be their guy. And then they've kept me in mind. There's this show, Undone. It premieres on the 29th this month, but it's a rotoscope show. And they call me in for that. It's just like, yeah, I think the voiceover thing is something that's just wonderfully fallen in my lap, and something that you just don't really foresee, because that's, again, like the beautiful things in life. There are those things that just happen that are completely out of nowhere. And there were some times in which money was getting pretty thin, and then all of a sudden, a residuals check for the Angry Birds movie comes in, and you're like, hey, we're okay. So yeah, I'm very thankful for those opportunities, for sure.
Yeah, that's very cool. And actually, man, you're right on script here with me, because my next question was like, all right, I do want to skip ahead a bit because there's other stuff and we can't cover it all. But before we get into Upload, I do want to talk about Undone, because what a trippy, awesome show. I'm curious, when you heard about it, when you got presented it, how much did you know about it, like, versus what we actually see on screen? Because that's a real mindfuck. Let me tell you.
I don't know anything. You didn't know anything. Again, I went in for Linda. and read some callback for something that I didn't end up getting. It was some commercial, and then she was like, "Can you put this on tape real quick?" And I did it, just like whatever, blah blah blah. But it was like the BoJack people, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, Kevin." They brought me back in, and we did the table read, and it was like, "Holy, I got cast in it." And I was like, I don't know what this is going to be. And then I showed up to shoot, and they're shooting with cameras that are like our sketch camera. You know, it was just like a DSLR thing. And you're like, what? And then we were in like this small office that's all green screen around. And then there's just X's on the floor. And then you have these people telling you, like, well, you can't walk here, here, pretend this is a table and blah, blah. You know, like you're just sitting in like a school, like a desk chair that you did when you were in like 4th grade, and you're like, you're in a car right now. You know, it's like ultimate imagination. And then they showed us the trailer one day out of all the stuff that they had done, and we were like, what? Like, what is this? That's me? Like, oh my God. Like the way that they do that is incredible. I'm in 3 episodes this year, which I really love doing, and they have been so kind to like keep me along for the ride. I would think I was going to have a little bit bigger of a part, but unfortunately there's some stuff, you know, we shot in the summer of 2020 during COVID. So like there's no vaccine, and also the numbers were right. So it was like, you know, we had to shoot separate. Everybody was like only one person, you know, it was really tough, right? Because everyone's scared, but like I was just grateful to still be included in the season, and it's really cool. It's going to go to some really interesting places.
I'm excited to see it. I mean,
Me too.
and it's been such a long time since season 1. It made me think, like, is it difficult to pick up a character again that was literally years ago for you to put down? Like, is that a challenge, or did it just come right back?
I think it comes right back just because the writers are working on it. So it's like they know the character so well. So you're like, what was I doing? And then you read it, and the writing's so good that you're like, oh, you're clicked right back in. You know, you might have to watch a little something and be like, well, that's okay. I was doing something like that, and then it just clicks right in. For Reed, my character, it was very, very simple. For Upload, it's very simple, because it's just like the writing's so good. They know you so well. They know what to do. I wonder if I could jump back into Sirens without worrying about it. I think I could. But part of that would maybe feel, since it's been so long, a little inauthentic, because your taste and how you do things changes a little bit. So maybe what I thought what was funny at 25, 26 when I was doing that, 27 isn't going to be the case now, when, you know, my mid 30s.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. Okay, so let's get to the juicy Upload. What a great show. I mean, I'm a big tech guy. I love all the tech toys and things, and the idea of that the future could be this and this and that. And obviously there's major, you know, problems with the reality that world's built upon, which is, I mean, probably what would really happen. But anyway, point is, great show. I'm curious because the character you play, Luke, he's interesting, man. Like, how would you describe Luke from Luke's perspective? I'm curious.
I think Luke's kind of a human Labrador to a degree. There's just kind of the buddy that's just going along with everything that you're doing, specifically everything that Nathan is doing. I also think that he is the opposite of almost everybody on the show, in that everyone seems to be very concerned with the technology, A, and then B, kind of concerned with what this new virtual world means for them, and what happens, like, existentially, what's their purpose. You know, Ingrid is trying to navigate this relationship with her dead boyfriend, and Nathan's like, if I don't have a job, and I can't remember who I am really, like, am I still me? And then, you know, has this love affair that's like separated by the real and digital world. Luke doesn't give a shit about any of that. I just, like, Luke is the opposite. Luke's just like, I'm here for, I'm having sex digitally, like, we're doing that. I'm getting drunk. We're running around. I'm doing other nefarious shit. Like, all he is just looking for the fun, looking for the game.
Yeah.
Which is also my relationship, going back to your first question, relationship with vets too, and with the military, is that I play a vet, who lost his legs in a future foreign war that hopefully never happens. But and then killed himself to get there. So he obviously has some darkness. That he was obviously in a very low point to do something like that. However, it feels like he's constantly entertaining himself and finding the game in life, in everyday life, and every passing day as a way to avoid sinking into that darkness. So there's something to admire about him, but also, there's plenty to critique and chastise as well.
Wow, it's almost like you know this character so well.
I know. It's almost like I play him. Yeah.
And you took the words right out of my mouth, because knowing that he's a veteran, I have a very interesting relationship with this character, because part of it is like we get these teases like, oh yeah, he was a veteran. He served. He did this happened. This happened. And then you find out like because at first I didn't, I always assumed he'd be like this low level grunt kind of guy. But then you find, oh, he was a lieutenant. And then you're like, oh wow, like, typically very serious, very, driven, goal oriented. And it seems so very different than the character we're presented. So I'm of two minds of this. I'm gonna ask you this. I'm of two minds. Because I love the fact that they don't make a big deal that he's a veteran, right? That's not the point. He's a human being. He's a person. He has like so many of these shows you watch, it's like, oh, veteran, like that's his whole identity. And like, that's not Luke. Like he has his whole personality outside of being a veteran. But then on the other flip of the coin is like, I want to know more. I want to know more about like his service. I want to know more about how did, and we got a glimpse of it with his buddy when he came in the one episode, and like, oh no, this isn't who he was. And like, there seems to be so much more under the surface. Do you guys have that fleshed out? Is that something we're going to dive into? Maybe. I mean, I want to see so much more of it.
There's a lot that I've heard about it, about like different interpretations of what could happen, what's going to happen, and ways that they want to explore it. There was a pitch last year about, Luke's memories, like where you really kind of see like through POV the things that he experienced, which would kind of help Alicia see him in a different way. That's still possibly on the table. I don't know. I think it was kind of maybe lost for the sake of doing the story that we did, which is Luke's buddy coming in, because you get me more involved. I think they will. I think you will get more information for sure, because I think all these characters are getting deeper and deeper. The only thing is, I think that's difficult with Luke, and it's something that I'm aware of, and it's something that I think is actually a strength of the show, is that sometimes you get on shows where where it's not like the cast members don't get along, but like everybody wants to do what they're doing and another thing. They'll be like, I'm a comedic character or I'm a serious character, but I want to be funny now. And you're like, okay, but your character isn't really the comedic character, or this isn't a comedic moment. And Greg has a lot of theories and philosophies in regards to separating comedy and drama and how that kind of adds and to like the show and works. With Luke, it's like, it's a band, so you have to play your instrument, and the bass player shouldn't get a solo, you just kind of have to keep the rhythm. So for Luke, I think sometimes, and this is something I pride myself on, you have to just go in there. There's times in which I'm like, oh, this is a serious scene, so okay, we're going a little bit deeper with Luke, and he's having a heartfelt conversation with Nathan right now. And then Greg will be coming in. You'll come in and be like, "What are you doing? Like, it's comedic." And you go, "Oh, fuck!" Like, so because you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm funny. I'm supposed to be funny." Like Luke is supposed to be. It's a comedy, and you're a comedic character. And there are characters on this show who are not necessarily comedic. Nathan really isn't that comedic, but he's a straight man. Robbie's fantastic about that. Yet he does have a sense of humor, and he not only is very supportive as a person, but like, and as an actor, but like, he has his own comedy that is infused in there, right? So, but he's not trying to be funny all the time. He sets you up in the best way, you have Nora. Andy Allo doesn't really. Nora's not really a comedic character. But it needs to be a comedy because it's being referred to as a comedy, and we're shooting it as a half hour. So if it's all just serious, it's just not gonna. I have to be funny at the end of the day. But it is up to me also to find some heartfelt moments that can anchor this person. I get a couple of them with Zaynab and some stuff with Robbie this season, but helping her through a moment in episode 6. But yeah, I think as far as Luke's backstory, I think that would really help. But it's really tough, I think, if you do too much of it, one of your big helium balloons that keeps the comedy afloat is now becoming something different. So then you're going to have to find comedy somewhere else in this episode, or else you could just have a very serious episode, especially when we're only doing 8 or 10 or whatever. So
Right.
it might have might be a bigger deal.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, where would you like, and without, because obviously we're waiting to hear what's going to happen for the next season, but where would you like to see the character grow? Where would you like to see Luke kind of evolve or get involved with in the next season?
Yeah, I've been really enjoying how Luke is involved with helping Nathan with various things, as well as just like personally checking him. I really feel like I think some specific areas of growth would be interesting as far as his background and kind of knowing where he comes from. But I just want to see Luke pay for how willing he is to kind of throw himself into the fire, and especially use this technology that he doesn't understand. I want to see Luke just get in more ridiculous situations, because I think he's a character that you can put in any situation in there. So it's like I just want to see him get abused by this landscape, just like completely, gone. Anytime it's like the fingers and dicks thing. I mean, all that, Luke isn't sleeping, all that stuff. I go into the writer's room and I got to see all the post-its and stuff that they pitched. And you're like, oh man, this is all great. It's just, I want to see him in trouble all the time. For growth, meh, that's all right. It's much more fun to be like, what the fuck happens to Luke this episode? Like, that's what I want to see. Give the growth and all that stuff to those other people. But Luke is just a garbage can for the dumbest, funnest ideas, and that's what's really fun about
He gets to be the punching bag. He gets to be
Yeah.
like, what can we throw at him next? What can we
Right.
how far can we push him before he
Exactly.
breaks?
Yeah, right. Yeah, let's just keep it going. Yeah, I love that stuff.
That's so cool. And I gotta say one thing too about this show, and obviously, I mean, only 2 seasons in, but the cliffhangers. Oh my goodness, the season 1, we get Robbie, he just froze, and he's like, oh my god, and we apparently the girlfriend is uploaded or something. Apparently, and then in season 2, I get excited. I get excited because I see like, oh, now there could be 2 of them, because you got the one in the real world and the one in the virtual, and then like by the way, the little stinger they did at the end of the season with you in the like G-rated cartoon.
Yeah, right.
Oh my god, I was laughing so
That's what I mean.
hard.
Throw Luke through the dumbest stuff, like that. Having him being in this G-rated dream world is just so fun and fantastic. So, yeah, I love that stuff. Yeah, the cliffhangers are big. They do piss off a lot of people, but at the same time, Greg said this thing where it's like, well, like every episode ends with a cliffhanger, and to be honest, we did 7 for season 2. We were supposed to do 8. We had an 8th one written, but COVID was so bad over there, and things were getting really expensive by having to shut down some stuff here and there. It's just becoming problematic, and Vancouver was getting worse and worse and worse, and Canada was really slow with the rollout for the vaccine at that time. So, which was winter and spring in 2021. So things were really difficult. So it was like, that's not even the cliffhanger we wanted to end on. We had a different one. So, and because they are at the ends of every single episode, because Greg is so good about going You like that? No, you want to figure out what happens, right? Here's the next episode. It's a very bingeable show for that reason. So, no matter where you end it, like we did on the 7, there's your cliffhanger. There will always have them, unfortunately. But also, I take it as a badge of honor because people go like, "Oh God, I hate the cliffhanger. Hey, how you do that?" And you're like, "That means you like the show.
Yeah, it means you're hooked. We got you.
Yeah, it means that you dig it. I wish I could give you 6 seasons. Just drop it all at once. Like it would be fantastic. Be a lot of work for me, but it would be great. I'll take that. But yeah.
It's always there's the good and the bad. Okay, I know we're running short on time. A couple more questions and we'll let you go. Of all the characters you've played in your career, which one were you most like daunted by or intimidated? Like when you booked the thing, and you're like, oh man, I don't know about this. Like, which one gave you the most pause going into it?
That would definitely be Sirens. I just wasn't mentally. It's not that I wasn't ready for it. I was just terrified. I was scared about a lot of things. I mean, like Michael Mosley was the lead on that, and I don't know, like he'd gone through this divorce and everything, and I was just kind of like, which I can say because he did. And I don't know. I just saw like a lot of people through Valet just be pieces of shit, being in the industry, and I just kind of had this weird feeling of like and fear of becoming one of them overnight, just because you're going into a new show and you don't know what's going to happen. What if it's a huge success? Like, am I going to all of a sudden, like, I wonder if like all of a sudden, am I going to get messages from girls, like girls going to start hitting on me? What's my resolve like? Am I going to cheat on my girlfriend, wife? Like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to become an asshole is what I asked him. And he was like, no, I think, he was like, I think fame, it just brings out what's already there. And any level of fame, not that it was huge fame, but it was more fame than just working in, anonymity at the fucking valet stand. So it was a lot for me to handle. And also, again, like with Luke in Upload, my character in Sirens was the comedic element of the show. There are other comedic elements of it, but like I was the straight comedy. They were leaning on me heavy for not only as writers, but like they were leaning on me for the press, for that, for the ad campaigns. I was like, I mean, we were shooting 10 pages a day. Average show Upload shoots about 6, 7, maybe 8 tops. Busy day. We shot as many on Sirens as 14 one day, with a ton of extras. So it was just, and then it's the kind of thing with a comedy that's not Greg. Greg does all that work, and you can come up with certain jokes and things, which they may or may not take, and some of them work their way in. But with Sirens, I was getting off of a take, and I wouldn't even go back to your chair, sit down, and look at your phone. Like you would go over to the writers, and you'd start talking about jokes, and you'd start pitching jokes, and I had jokes, and then also they were writing other episodes, and Bob was like a mentor to me, and Bob would be like, come on, like, let's go. Like, why don't you come over here in the writer's room, and we'll just like start punching out stuff and figuring out jokes and punch up lines. So you're trying to make it the best thing you can. And it's like, that was exhausting. I wasn't sleeping. I went like several days, and this is, ridiculous, like to complain about, but like, I just wouldn't, especially to a veteran, but like, I just, there were times in which I didn't sleep. So it was like, I'd go 36 hours. There was just like no sleep. And, I started hallucinating at night, like started thinking that I was being filmed, very Luke. That I was just like, I remember getting into bed one time after getting up in the middle of the night. I hadn't slept, and I was like, I laid down my head on the pillow, and I was like, you know what? Let me go. I'll go on this side of the pillow because they can get it from here and they can get it from here. And it was just like, what are you talking about? You are in your bedroom, like it was just like, there was for a few weeks there, I started like drinking, like to have a couple beers or some wine to kind of knock me out. I didn't like that. That was, my face kind of swelled up. I just wasn't in a good place mentally to be prepared for that amount of work, that workload, which would be daunting even now. But that whole beast of a show really helped sharpen, my tools to where when I got the big opportunity like Upload, I knew what to do to get some sleep. I knew how to operate on no sleep. There were times in which it's like I didn't sleep on upload a couple times. You know, it happened, but it happens to me now every now and then where you just get nervous about a meeting you have and maybe get 3 hours or something. But like I know that I can figure it out. I know what to do. I know how to like I'm gonna read at night. I'm gonna not freak out. I'm not gonna put so much pressure on myself to be the funny guy. You know, like just let things happen naturally. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. But yeah, that was definitely the most daunting for real.
Wow. I just to tie it back to the comic book roots we were talking about earlier. You mentioned something that triggered it's like the Captain America, the super soldier serum, where like it just brings out what's already inside
what's
of you.
already there.
So
right.
the fame is that serum that like you're either going to be a better person because of it or a much worse person.
I am a super soldier, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think what it is too. It's like it just gives you. It will dictate your time, you know, like you'll figure out that you actually have more time to do certain things, and then you start thinking about time and how you spend it. And there are people I knew that you know with that fame that they were heading to some shitty club to do a bunch of cocaine. Like that's how they are using that time. You know, for me, it was like I really need to get better at guitar, and I'm going to shoot some stuff with my wife, and I'm going to use this money to buy film equipment. You know, it was just a different. I'm going to try and get better as a writer or whatever. All that stuff. That's how I've tried to use my time, and I'm not perfect, obviously, because I mean I am a super soldier, but I do fuck up, and I just do misuse my time. But you know, attention is a habit, and you have to figure out how to spend it and use it and all that. So it's something that I'm very, very conscious of.
Oh, that's awesome. And what is your favorite memento? Something that you maybe swiped from a set, something that you kept from a show? Do you have anything that's a favorite?
Fuck, I thought I had something around out somewhere. I don't really do too much of that, but there were a couple things from Sirens that I kept. One was Boston comedian who named Lenny Clark, who is one of the funniest motherfuckers I've ever met in my life. Would just like have me rolling. He used to like cut out his lines, and he learned them in a weird way. He'd highlight them, cut them out, and then he'd paste them like with like a glue stick, you know, on like cardboard. And I thought it was the most hilarious thing. He'd have these big pieces of cardboard with his lines on them. And I was like, "Can I have one of those?" And he signed it like "Fuck you, Lenny Clark." He was just like fantastic. Another one was we started pranking people on Sirens. Prank is probably too strong, but Mike Mosley's like a guy who really kind of gave me a really good introduction to like the business or whatever, or you know, to show business stuff. And he just was so sarcastic, sardonic, didn't take anything seriously. And you know, he had said something funny that I thought was hilarious, where he was just like, you know, I made some joke about, you know, whatever, getting busted doing something, you know, like you know, getting pulled over, DUI or whatever. He goes, "Oh yeah, that would be great." It would be like TV's Mike Mosley does this or whatever. It was just funny for him to reduce himself to that. It was very funny. So we didn't do chairbacks, which like, you know, like your name on your chair kind of thing. We didn't do that for the first season. So second season, I got him a gift. We Kevin Daniels and I did, and it was TV's Michael Mosley was his chairback. And at one point we were shooting, and it was the middle of a take, and we were in Chicago, and somebody walks by and looks at none of the chairs have names on them except for TV's Michael Mosley. And someone goes, "TV's Michael Mosley," ruins the take because we're rolling. Mike's like mid-line. Someone just goes, "TV's Michael Mosley. Hey, newsflash, Michael, no one gives a fuck." Like, it was just like fantastic. It was such a big laugh. And then I was like, I have to do this again. So we got another chair back for Kevin Daniels, and he was from Juilliard. And all he did was talk about Juilliard. Like, he'd be like, "Well, Juilliard." So I got him Juilliard's Kevin Daniels. So then they got me, and there was a chair back I kept, I framed, and it was like it was just blank apostrophe S Kevin Bigley, because I hadn't really been in anything. So it was just like nobody's Kevin Bigley.
Yeah. Well done.
I thought that was fantastic. So they got me with that. So I decided to keep that.
That's awesome. I love these stories. All right. So last thing, because we covered everything else.
Yep.
You're also an author. You're a writer.
Mm.
You and you, I mean, it goes back. You wrote the sports section for your university's paper. You had several short stories published in magazines like Madeline House, X-Ray Literature.
Yeah.
But in 2020, your first novel, Comaville, published by Clash Books, released to the world. It's a book that centers around a character in a coma who is trapped within the city of memory. What made you want to tell that story? What made you want to write and publish?
I was doing a lot of like TV pitching, like pitching pilots and stuff, and I absolutely hated it because the stuff that you could actually pitch, it was just like they didn't want any weird ideas. They just wanted very conventional ideas, and you were being pushed to write conventional ideas. So then you try to sell a conventional show, and then the producers would read it and they're like, "This is conventional bullshit." And you'd be like, "I know, like we're being told to do this." Like it just felt like we were trying to reverse engineer ideas and stuff, and I just absolutely hated it. But I was able to cut my teeth and learn structure and all that stuff. But then I just started, I was like, I'm gonna stop trying to churn out pilots that no one gives a fuck about. So I started writing prose, and especially because I was like, why am I not allowed to try to write the kind of stuff that I'm reading? And I always, I'm reading fiction and stuff that really inspires me, and it's like it's always usually pretty weird, like Murakami or whatever. And it's like why can't I do stuff? Why am I not expecting the best from myself, and why am I not playing to the height of my own intelligence? Why am I trying to fit like a square peg into a round hole of something that I don't even try and create shows that I don't even really watch? So it's like, what am I doing? So I took some time to kind of slow everything down, reconfigure, and I just tried to get really good with prose and get better with story. And I started publishing short stories. And I had this idea that was based around just some weird idea that I came up with, but I became obsessed with it. But to me, the book represented like complete and total freedom. It was just like, I'm going to write this. I didn't tell anybody I was writing it. Didn't tell my wife I was writing it. I was like, this will be proof of like, it'll be documentation of Kevin has lost his mind, that like Kevin, he'll go missing and turn up in like the LA River, and they'll look at my desktop and they're like, he was writing a novel? Oh my God, the signs were right here. He was fucking insane. Like it was just it was a clear indication that I was just kind of going through something, but I was just like putting my heart and soul into it. And I really worked my ass off on it. And then I was like, it just like anything, I feel like, again, you don't like, I didn't feel like, I mean, I always felt like as a kid that there were just smart kids, and or artistic kids, and you're just born a certain way. And it's total and complete bullshit, because all you have to do to write a book, anybody can write a book, and all you have to do is spend time. And again, it's just time. It's just time spent, attention. Where do you put your attention? And what do you can do anything kind of thing that we get spoon fed as kids, but it's so completely and totally accurate. So I just spent time every day, 2 hours a day, just writing and shaping. And writing is not, no one writes a fucking book one pass through and gets it published. You write it, it's awful. You rewrite it, it's bad. You rewrite it, it's less bad. Like you just keep doing it. And I was like, I know that if I'm at least a good enough writer that if I keep going over it, it'll be okay. And then I didn't go through my agents. I didn't want them to, they were very sweet people, but I just didn't want any negativity of like, oh, well, let's us take control and we're going to do it. I just knew I was reading a bunch of books from indie publishers. I did a bunch of research. I reached out to these people. They read it. They loved it. And they were like, we're excited about this. We want to do it. And then my agents were like, now we want to get involved. And I was like, no, like this is my indie album. Like these people are excited about it. And in life, in certain situations, you just have to follow who's excited about you, excited about what you're doing. Like you have to follow that. And that I had a gut feeling, and I'm glad that I went with it because they did it. And it came out March of 2020, right when everything shut down. Couldn't do any of the readings or anything. So it kind of hits with sales, but I was never intending to like, the thing about a book is it's just around, like people, it's going to find people, and it has, and I get messages and stuff, and or a review or something. And that's what's really cool, because just like a movie, it's just this little piece of stock that's just out there, and it'll just accrue and accrue and accrue over time as more people find it and read it. So it's just cool that it exists. And it was me really embracing totally unbridled freedom with writing, and then that helped me get back to screenwriting, and I started focusing on features. And the first feature I wrote, I sold. It was just like I did it, and it was a weird feature. It wasn't. I would stop listening to this bad advice of like trying to fit everybody's thing or trying to be conventional. My buddy and I had this weird idea, and we were like, we're going to go with this. And we wrote this weird script, and now we're getting meetings. We got meetings from it, that people just being like, what the fuck were you guys? This is so weird. Like, is this so different than what we usually read or whatever? And that is always, whether or not they buy it, that's just the best feeling, because it feels like you're actually going out on your sword. You're going out on something that, you feel proud of. And that's just, authenticity is just so important for me. Like, you have to be yourself, both in your everyday life, but in whatever you're doing. And if I'm not doing that, if I'm betraying that, then I just don't really feel firm in my footing in anywhere in my life.
Dude, that's God, so many life lessons here. So many life lessons. I love it. And I'll be ordering a copy, because I'm excited. Having had this conversation, I'm now excited to read the book. I'm not much of a reader, but for you, Kevin, I will read a book.
It's 220 pages. It's a breeze.
I can do that.
You'll knock it out.
1 page a day. I can knock that out.
There you go.
Man, like, this has been so incredible. Thank you for being so giving of your time. I want to give you the last few minutes here. What do you want to promote? What do you want people to look for? How can they find you? How can they support you? What social medias you use? Give us everything.
Yeah, I've got an Instagram. You can find me there. It's at Kevin W. Bigley. I got one of those little blue check marks. But I think I would take the time to promote Wounded Warrior Project. I mean, like, that's just so. I mean, I have enough stuff going on, but that was just such a cool thing, and the amount of services and programs that it provides to vets, as well as to caregivers, and the financial assistance and help navigating the VA, mental assistance, physical assistance, all of these great, tremendous, spectacular programs that, when most people, and I know that you know this, and I think you said as much when did you did an interview with me, it's just that, a lot of people think, when they think of that, they think a man, and they think he's missing an arm, and he's a veteran, and he served that way. And that's just not the way it is. There's that too. And those people need the assistance that they need, but there are so many people with invisible wounds. And also, it was really cool interviewing so many women, because March was Women's Month, and it was just really cool to talk to so many female vets who feel overlooked, and their experiences, as with being stereotyped and having to compete with men. I noticed so many people who signed up right after 9/11, and so many of them were 17 years old, and they had never been on a job interview, because they had gone from high school where their parents or their brothers, or the guardian is signing a document, to go into the military. That really stuck with me, that you're in there, and then you come back. How can you even adjust when you haven't even began a normal civilian life? So what that does for people like you, and did for people like you, to help people adjust to that world, know what is the quote unquote real world, or what will be your real world experience in the rest of your life. It was just to interview those people and see what that charity does, that organization, is absolutely unbelievable. So yeah, I'll plug that.
Wow, I can't, how do I follow that? I can't follow that. Guys, this has been Kevin Bigley. I mean, check him out on Upload. Undone's coming right down the corner. Buy the book, Comaville. I know I'm going to go ahead and buy a copy. And man, you are a friend of the show forever. Please, the next time you got something big coming, man, come back on. We'll talk about it.
Sounds good.
We'll nerd out. Good. We'll nerd out some comic stuff, man.
I love it.
Last question. If you had the choice, you could be who do you want to play in like an MCU movie? What character? Oh,
They've done them all. It's so hard. I mean, I would have loved to have been. I mean, Venom was always my favorite. I don't know, man. Whatever one that like, as long as they're paying for the trainer, that sounds great.
the dietitian, the gym.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whole thing.
exactly. I think Black Cat would be cool. There's just always some cool. Yeah, whatever. Throw me
Outstanding.
in. Yeah, throw me anywhere.
Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to toss to a break. This has been the amazing Kevin Bigley. Check him out, and we'll be back with more right after this. Shots.
You're listening to the sounds of WTF Nation Radio.
Hey, you there? Yeah, it is right, you. Let me ask you something, right? Where the hell do you think that you're going? Oh, would you think because the show is going to commercial that means you get to just walk away? Well, CQ asked me to pass on the little message, alright? And it says, I'll be back.
Hey, everybody, we're back. We are back, and I am going to go ahead and bring on my main man. Radar, get your ass back in here, boy.
I'm back, boss. I'm back.
What a phenomenal conversation with Kevin, man. What'd you think?
That was great. That was fucking amazing, dude.
He's just the nicest guy. It's not right that you could be so handsome,
Right.
and so talented and so funny and then be so nice as well.
Right.
It's just not fair.
I know. I got none of those. I don't even know. Like,
When you look at
I have
yourself,
no
you go
talent.
like,
I'm not handsome.
when I look and I'm like, where's all the good? I'm like, oh, he took all the good things. Okay, he took all of them.
Fine.
Um,
It's fine. He deserves them.
Yeah,
He really does, because it was incredibly nice.
he's such a
Great
good dude, and
Yes.
it's so, like, I've spoken to him a few times, now, and like we've emailed back and forth. You know, I was on his Instagram thing, and he's like, that's who he is. It's not an
Right.
act. It's the shit on TV. That's the act. Like, this is who he is, and just such a nice guy, and really, I didn't even get to act, like, or mention it, that like, not only does he do all the stuff for Wounded Warrior Project and the veterans and whatnot, like, he just did a Tough Mudder. Like, he took a bunch of warriors, veterans, and ran a Tough Mudder with them. Like, who does that?
Right.
Who
Not
does
me.
that?
Not Radar. Not Radar.
What celebrity does that? You know,
Right.
and I'm sure he would hate to be called a celebrity or whatever, but the fact is that he's just such a nice guy. I'm just blown away. Like, I might have a man crush. I might have a bit of a man crush.
You know what I think they
Such a
need?
nice guy.
You know what they need? They need to do like fat superheroes, and we can do that. Like, remember they had Fat Thor, and everyone's all happy that Thor got fat.
Yeah.
They should. I mean, it's the MCU. They can do anything they want. They should have like fat veteran MCU. Fucking, I don't know. You can't be like Iron Man and shit, but just think about it, like just like a bunch of like fucking fat vets calling each other, "Hey, fat fuck," and just like being me. Hey, you dumb son of a bitch, get over here.
Oh man. Yeah.
And we're all just sitting there being a little chubby chub.
Yeah. To Greg's point too in the chats, he says, again, I'm disappointed that yet another guest wasn't a dick.
Right.
I mean, we're trying. I'm reaching out.
Honestly, but here's the thing too, like, everyone's not just, it's not just like they come on and they're nice and then they back up. Like, they're so accommodating to
Yeah.
us. And okay, what your interview was almost an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We ask for an hour, which is longer, way longer than most people
5
give for an
minutes, 10
interview.
minutes. Yeah.
Yep.
And
And they
then,
come on for an hour or more, and then they love it, and they're having a blast, and everyone forgets how the time on it, and it's fun, and it's great that they get to come on, and like I said, they're not just not dicks, they're genuinely really, really nice.
yeah. Yeah.
So
And I
that just
think,
makes it
especially with Kevin, like
better.
accommodating, you hit it on the head.
Mhm.
I had to cancel on him. Remember a
Yep.
couple weeks ago, we were supposed to have him on the show. My son had appendicitis, and I had to pull the show. I can't not be there for my child. And I emailed him. I'm like, man, I'm so sorry. You know, we had this plan. We were gonna do it, and he was just like, dude, it's fine. Like, family comes first, and like, we'll do it. We'll make it happen. And you know, and I told you I wasn't feeling that well today, but I'm like, I'm not gonna cancel on him again. If I'm not
Right.
dying, if I'm not literally dying, I'm not gonna cancel on him again because he's such a nice guy.
Yep.
And so yeah, yeah, that was awesome. I'm
It
I'm
was great.
I am I feel good about that one.
Yep.
I'm gonna write my little diary, my little journal. Like, tonight was a good one. Tonight was extra star next to the name. But all right, Mr. Radar,
Yes, Mr. CQ.
we've come to the end of the night, and this is the
We have.
point at which we typically have you let us know what we can typically expect from a week here at WTF Nation Radio.
Typically,
Take it away, typically.
I will say you have been listening to Pop Culture Warrior with him, CQ, and me, Radar. Now, tomorrow is Wednesday, a day of no scheduled activities or Donza, if you like. It'd behoove you to take the day off on Wednesday. Now, we'll have the day off. We can hang out with our fans, do all that cool shit. But Thursday, it would behoove you to hang out there for Swords time. Ice and Spanky talking about all kinds of swording things, right? Big army. You got the National Guard. You got the reserves. You got retirees. They're going to be talking about all things sword. They're going to be there. The Sergeants of Excellence. It's going to be great. Now, Friday, the aptly named Friday Night Freedom. Cause Boogie will be there, talk about all kinds of crazy shit. And they got some funny guests and all kinds of good stuff. It's a good show. They're there every Friday, and they're fucking hilarious. Check it out. Now, Saturday and the Sunday is the weekend. I'll probably be at a fuck sock tournament or something. CQ will probably be feeling better for a while, and then he'll get sick again Monday night. But whatever. Anyway, we'll be doing some fun things. No scheduled activities, downs days. We got a 48-hour pass. We're gonna be gone. Now, we'll be back on Monday for the Monday edition with Ice and Shipwreck. Okay. They're gonna do all kinds of fun shit. They're gonna be, I don't know, talking about fucking current events. There's like that war in Europe thing they're talking about going on over there. I'm sure there'll be some developments there. Probably some tanks getting blowed up. That's one of my favorite things to watch on the internet now. And some other bullshit. But when they're done on Monday night, next up is us, him, CQ, me, Radar, for Pop Culture Warrior every Tuesday.
That is correct. And before we go, we'll say next week, tune in. If CQ doesn't die between here and there, we are going to have Colin O'Shaughnessy. Yes. Colleen O'Shaughnessy.
Yes.
She is best known as the voice of Tails from all the Sonic properties, including the recently released Sonic 2. She did the voice of Tails.
Which I will be watching this weekend.
I want you to really listen to that voice, because we're going to have it on the show. And then I'm super excited to announce what the following week's guest will be. Someone that I've been circling for quite a while. It's a little hard to nail him down because he's a busy man. Yes. And for the longest time, it looked like we were going to have to pre-record the interview because getting him live was going to be very difficult to do. But I'm happy to say we've nailed him down. He's a little squirmy, but we nailed him down. You'll get the reference here in a second. We've nailed him down. May 10th. The T-1000 himself, Robert Patrick, the Liquid Terminator, and a million other things, will be here live in studio on Pop Culture Warrior, May 10th, 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm so freaking excited. I'm also terrified. That guy gave me nightmares as a child.
Really?
I mean, oh my God, I was terrified.
Did you see him in Sopranos?
I did.
Do you remember him being in Sopranos? Yeah,
No,
pretty sure about it.
I'm gonna have to check that. Check it. He's done so many things. He's done so many things. In fact, if you just saw Peacemaker, he was in Peacemaker. He was Peacemaker's dad and did such a good job. Did such a good job. A very believable white supremacist. Very believable. But very excited for that. And I've got a few other surprises. A few other surprises lined up that I'm very excited for. But we'll be announcing more guests soon too. So, man, everything's really been going so well. Other than my health. Other than that, everything. The office is coming out great. The new computer is pumping out really well. I think the video looks great. You look fine as usual.
I look medium.
But
I look medium. I look all right.
Otherwise, you guys have all been great. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you so much for being part of the show, bearing with me while I my God, just everything. Just everything. And yeah, we'll see you again next Tuesday night. Right? You didn't just between now and then, just be good to each other. Be good to each other. Say goodnight, Radar.
Good night, Radar.
We'll see you guys next week. Shots.
Doc!